could stay like this, forever following you. Just don't get too far, and I'll be right where you are. You're a dream that I could finally see. I just want us to know.
Good morning and welcome to SEN Stream. This morning we look ahead to week 12, the final week of semester 1. We take a detailed look at the programme for the Roehampton Conference. Supervisor allocations are in their final throes. We speak to Dr Jane Naufahu regarding a Q&A session. Finally, we take questions and provide answers. Stay tuned, folks. Guys, good morning and welcome to SEN Stream. We have Dr. Jane Naufahu in the studio. Good morning. Good stuff. I have to talk to the microphone, I'm afraid, unless you have a loud, booming voice.
Good morning, Mike.
It's like having my nan in. No,
Thank you. That's a good start.
It's always good to get the guest on side, is what I would say. So let's have a look and see who we've actually got with us this morning. Usually I pop the chat up. I think you're going to be hot-footing it to HR shortly after the age discrimination. I don't know.
I might well be, Mike. Be on your guard.
So who have we got with us in the chat this morning? I'd like to say good morning to who we've got. So we've got Laura. Good morning. Welcome to the chat.
Laura.
We've got Fran. Good morning.
Morning.
We've also got Gillian and Philippa,
Morning,
Adam, Miguel have all tuned in. Hello. If there's anyone I've missed out or you've not said hello to us in the chat, do let us know that you are here. And we can both say hello to us. So, how are you doing this morning, Jane?
Yeah, I'm good. Nice to be here.
I'll bring it this
I'll
side.
comply. Okay.
Well, the viewers are desperate to hear what you have to say, especially with regards to the Q&A session, which we'll do with nutrition performance.
Yeah, good.
So it's best that you guys, if there's any problem with the audio, just let us know and we'll try and do something sensible about it. So there's a bit of a lag, so we're just watching ourselves back here. So anyway, what have we got in store this morning? We're going to do a quick run through the module updates first, because we're in that final week, heading towards week 12. Things are kind of wrapping up, winding down. So the updates for the modules are not massively comprehensive. You've got a few consolidation sessions. We've got Jane to talk essentials as well. So I think we'll kick off with that, and then we'll roll straight into a bit of a Q&A session with regards to the outstanding assessments on, if that's okay with. So if that's all right, we'll kick straight off into
with my update.
We can start with yours if you want. I was going to start with concepts, but
go on then.
you edge your way in there. Well, I was thinking it'd be a nice segue to go from essentials of nutrition performance and then start talking about the assessment.
I've got you.
I've got it all lined up.
Fantastic. Go on then.
Right, let's get on board. So let's head across and we'll have a look now. So we're going to kick off. Oh, we've got our man in this guy is not me, by the way.
No.
Contrary to popular belief is what I would say. Well, you know, I give Eddie spiky kisses before bedtime. Likes that. So there we are. Oh, we're rattling through the updates here. I think I had an error there. Concerning because I'm fairly confident I applied and it's text. I kind of know what the update is for this. Kind of embarrassing, but never mind. Let's just do it. So the final session that you have for concepts and principles will be a revision session with Claire and Teddy. It's going to be an opportunity for you guys to just run through content of the module so far and think ahead to the exam that you. For some of these guys, it's going to be like the first exam they've sat for quite a while. Any advice? Any tips?
Prepared.
Be prepared. I think my take on this is that worrying about the exam is not preparing for the exam. So the less worrying you do, or reading and preparation and notes,
more practice.
Yeah, so just taking a logical and systematic approach to that knowledge consolidation is element there. What I would say. I am just going to have a quick look, guys, because I am fairly confident. Bear with me. I think what's happened is my slide, and without switching my. We're having an absolute disaster on. We're having an. What have we got? This is what happens when your train's delayed in the morning. So what I'm going to do, we're going to go back to our interviews, and then we can try and fix it. Because it's pointless you guys looking at. But nevertheless, update for concepts and principles. You've got a consolidation session with Teddy and Claire, your final session next week. It'll be an opportunity for you to think more comprehensively about the exam, and just think ahead about what your strategy is going to be in order to prepare for that adequately. So thinking about pre-question, how you might like that. Makes sense? If we move on to research methods for health science 1, you've got 2 sessions for this particular module. The first session will be with Liza Draper. She's going to be considering research methods for qualitative research studies. And as I've always said, there is a qualitative element to robotics. So things like interviews, focus groups, which you might do in a club level or with a specific individual, particularly if you do like a consultation, that if you can systematically extract information in a very methodical way, then that can only be to your benefit. And as such, Liza's going to talk about that and how people techniques within research specifically, which will be a really nice session leading in that thinking comprehensive. The second part of this session will be a review of the formative assessment that you did on SPSS. He's going to walk through some of the answers to those questions, approaches that, so that you guys can actually reflect on how your SPSS data analysis is going. I believe they had an extra session in nutrition performance with Claire.
They did have an extra session with nutrition, where they got their hands on their own self-generated data and running some from what I hear from Claire, it went. Some people were very saw the data and run as many stats as they could on it because they're interested to know what actually happened in it. Others were more concerned about setting up the spreadsheet, thinking of things like types of data. So it depends on the level you're at. But I think most people got a chance to practice outside of that scenario where you get given a bunch of data to work with, you're working with your own data that you generated, so background. Well, I think that good feedback from Claire.
Excellent. We're just getting a bit of feedback. It's a bit quiet, so I'm just trying to
Oh.
turn all the volume up.
We'll see, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, sorry, I'm faffing with settings in the background.
Okay.
Doing a heroic job keeping it.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Miguel, let us know if that is any. We've got a few more people tuning in as well, which is all. We've got
Okay.
Katie,
Hi,
who's come and joined
Katie.
us this morning. Thank you.
Steph.
Stephanie's usually in transit. So
Ah.
she's either on the tube or on a train or underground at any given moment.
Wow.
And yeah, so she's just
She is,
multitasking
yeah.
efficiently out of her mind. What it was.
Okay.
Adam, the audio is still fading in and out. Let us know how we're getting on. Because I've just turned up all of the settings to try and deal with it. So from this point onwards in the chat, if you could let us know if it's better. I can turn it up a bit more. Don't want to sound. But nevertheless, we will continue on with the module updates while you guys are catching up. The final module, and I believe we can now actually go over. Slide. Excellent. So let's transition back over to 17. I feel like my slick production is being let down this morning, but I've been really shafted with the trains today. So I'm sleep deprived out of my mind. Child. So yeah,
I think you're doing a pretty good job.
Keeping it
all those things have gone wrong this morning.
On the ragged edge,
Yeah, on
as
the
it
edge.
were. So
Yeah.
I think one of the problems as well with the get rid of that. Done. Okay, we should be a little bit smoother now, guys, because anyway, for reasons that are not worth talking about. Practitioner skills for sports nutritionists. What have we got coming up? Now, I've been talking about Chris Curtis for like 5 weeks now, seemingly. I think he's the busy guy who's been struggling to come into the session that Sanjoy has had planned for you. So, of all the last 2 streams that I've been talking about Chris, if you want to find out more, go and find out more about him. He's the course leader for the MSc at the University of Hertfordshire. And he's coming in and talking to you about his experiences in elite sport as a nutritionist, but also some of the specifics about working with female athletes in particular. He has a subspecialism working with female teams in particular. And he's going to take some reflections about how that's been for him and hopefully give you guys a little bit more insight as to how that's been going. The final thing to say from Practitioner Skills for Sports Nutritionists with Sanjoy is that he's offered you all a one-to-one session to discuss the coursework too on this module for you. So I believe some of you have taken him up on that. That's excellent. That's going to really enhance your ability to do well on this particular assessment. Others of you have not taken up that opportunity. And if you want to do so, you need to get in touch with him as soon as possible and get that session booked in before the end of semester. We like to have a break as well. Shock horror. So I'm sure Sanjoy would like to get any one-to-one meetings boxed off as soon as possible, which will give you the best chance to do as well as you can in the assessment, but also will give Sanjoy a chance to just draw close to what is an exceptionally busy semester for Sanjoy as he runs 2 modules concomitantly. So yeah, so get your updates in from there. Let me just have a quick look at the chat and see what is being said, if anyone has said anything. Yes, sound in and out, difficult to hear. Yep, it's better. Thank you. The audio is fading in and out, though. Okay, we'll just try and keep close to the mic.
Okay.
I'm actually in Starbucks today. She's static, not in transit. Excellent. I'll have a flat white, please. What are you having, Jane?
Oh, anything with a bit of gin in it, I think.
A bit of gin. I don't know if
Warm it
Starbucks
up.
can sell gin.
No.
Jeez.
I'll fancy it with coffee anyway.
Well, there you go. Bribes for Jane's courseworks.
Yeah.
Gin. So there we are. You still have this bottle of Corona on your desk in the office.
It cheers me up when I look at it.
Just a polite reminder there's other things going on in the world.
Yeah, I just like looking
beer.
at it. Yeah.
Anyway, moving swiftly on before we lose our jobs.
Mhm.
I think the last update, and because we have you in the studio today, is you've got this little desk-based photograph of you here representing what's going on in your module next week.
Next week, as we know. Okay, so there is a lecture session, and that is with Rumi, and she's going to go through mechanisms of fatigue with you. What will slow you down or stop you in various types of sports? So will that be a depletion of substrate? Will that be build-up of metabolites? And how can we use nutrition to try to kind of arrest that or delay that fatigue as much as possible in different sports? So that's a useful sort of basic lecture for you. Following that, as you know, we've got our mock exam.
Bombshell.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking down, actually, looking up there. And you know about this from last week. So we're going to have a mini mock exam. We only have the tutorial session to do it in, so that will be about an hour and a half max. So we're not going to do the whole exam, but we're going to do what equates to half of it. So 2 short answer questions and 1 essay of your choice. Katie asked me a good question last week, which is, last night, can we choose which questions we answer? Well, the answer is yes and no, because we're going to try and mimic the exam. So because the short answer questions are compulsory, I'll be picking 2 of those out for you. So I suggest that you have a look at all 4. But the essay question that you'll answer on Tuesday, you can choose that from the 5 options like you would in the proper exam. And then, as I said, I will take those papers back and have a go at marking them and get them back to you for some feedback.
What a result that is, in the sense that, you know, you guys get an opportunity to get some risk-free feedback on essentially what you're going to get assessed on. So what an opportunity that is going to be for you guys to kind of self-assess where you're at, without any consequence.
True. Yeah.
Are you doing it anonymously, just student numbers, or?
No, they're going to be writing it out by hand.
Okay.
And I'll be collecting it because, you know, I'm going to give you feedback. Obviously, you've not had a lot of time to prepare for it. I only gave you the questions on Tuesday. So it's up to you whether you try to write one as you would in exam conditions from memory. But I don't mind if you use notes on this occasion because I want you to get some decent feedback on what you might write rather than sitting there blankly not writing anything. Because
with that in mind, can they take notes into the main exam?
No.
Okay.
The main exam is strictly closed book, which relies on memory and having knowledge of your topic. So no, it's a closed book.
So if you want a valid assessment of your current knowledge, then sack the notes off and, you know, go cold turkey, as it were.
Yeah, you could go cold turkey.
But topical, considering the time of year. But anyway, the only thing I would say is that if you do take notes into your mock exam, it might give you a skewed perception about how long you might have to answer the question. So it's your choice, don't get me wrong, but maybe the most valid way would be to just go straight up. No consequence. So it'd be a good reflection of where you're at and therefore where you might need to prepare for from then. How are they going to get their feedback back?
Well, this is it. I don't know whether I will scan it and send it back to people because it's going to be handwritten. I have also, we kind of talked last week a little bit about also for this module doing a 1-to-1 session for your client report, but I can't do that next week because there's no time. So I asked a few of you when you would like it in the following week, which is the first week of the break, if you like, and so a few people said Tuesday afternoons. So if we do set that up then, and you do come and see me on the Tuesday afternoon, and if I have had chance to mark it, I can give you that feedback then. Otherwise, I'll probably just scan it and email it. Yeah. Cool.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for the update. I think we can now politely segue into what is the Q&A session for the assessments on your module. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, let's just have a quick change of scene. I've just spent so long putting these things together and never used them. So here we are. We're back in the studio, guys.
Wow.
1.5, but we're actually at Regent Street. I need to update this. I mean, it would have been nice to have, you know, this just do like a bit of a
festive snow and stuff.
Well, snow, yeah, that would be nice. But I was thinking, like, stand in the middle of Regent Street, take a photograph. Nice, you know, all the way down Regent Street. It's got the lights. I mean, it'd be nice to just stick a little webcam in the middle, and then you can have like a live background. But you know, I don't have the budget for it. Barely have the budget to do what we do here. But never mind, we're working on it. Is what I would say. So, talk to me about what assessments these guys have got, the outlines. If you want to have a look at any rubrics, any guidance documents, let me know. I can put them up on the screen and we can have a chat about them from there. So,
well, I don't know if anybody wants me to start with any particular assessment, but if nobody's...
Well, what's going first?
First is the client report.
Let's start there.
Which is due on the... can we look at the other
wrong one?
Yeah.
Sorry. You keep talking because they can't see this. So,
okay, right. So client report due on the 2nd of January, day after New Year's Day. 1 o'clock in the afternoon is the deadline. We haven't got any. So if you happen to be travelling at that time, do bear in mind that it's 1 o'clock UK time and not wherever you are. Because if you're looking at your own clock wherever you are, you might be missing the deadline.
That is a top tip right there. Yeah. The UK time versus European time /
European, American.
Well, yeah, you guys are from all over the place. Yeah. So, yeah, good advice is what I would say on that front.
Yeah, so make sure it's in by that time, 1 o'clock on the 2nd UK time. If you get any problems uploading it, and we have had some advice that sometimes Macs and things don't upload so well recently.
There is, I'm going to send out an update about this.
Yeah.
We got an update from our registry manager. I'm just going to butt in here because I think it's worth talking about.
Yeah.
We got an update from our registry manager with regards to Turnitin and how it works on different browsers. Long and short of it, the advice is to use either a Chrome browser, as in Google Chrome, or a Mozilla Firefox browser, not a Safari browser, and not any of the new Microsoft Internet Explorer. I don't even know what it's called.
Pages or something.
Well, that's basically use Mozilla Firefox or Chrome, not anything else. If you want to be absolutely certain that your Turnitin submissions are not going to have any submission problems, that's the advice that we'd be giving. So I'll be sending out an update on the module on the course Blackboard site, which goes into a little bit of detail about that, how you can download those things, etc., etc. So thank you for raising that. That's super helpful.
Okay. So if you did come across any problems, as long as you email it to me as well before the deadline, that should be fine. Yeah, we did have an occasion where someone didn't submit properly last year, and
I've just thought, we need to touch on the questions. First of all, Dr. Bradley Elliott has come in and said, "Teacher's whiskey?" ?
Oh, in coffee.
I've got some port at my desk. So.
Oh, he's got teachers on his desk.
I see. Well, we could have a real nice, knees up, whatever. It shows how often I don't get out in my life at the moment. Never mind. Okay, Stephanie, will we be judged on whether our intervention has had an effect?
No. You can't guarantee this, can you? I mean, what you'll be marked on is the marking criteria. The marking criteria, as far as I know, does not anywhere say that your intervention must be effective.
So shall we go there now?
Yeah.
So let's go to the presenter view, and then these guys can see what is up here. Granted, we can't see what's up here very well because it's so small. So just to give you guys a little bit of like where we are, we're on the Essentials of Nutrition Blackboard page. I had a bit of in fact, you know what, Jane, what I'll do is we'll just start this again, but I'll make sure that we're on student view because, and I say that, and the browser is just not doing, just 1 second, guys. Let's just switch this onto student view because we see a lot more than you guys see, and it's not always that helpful. Yeah. Cool. Right. So let's go down to the assessment details. Yep. Let's go for that.
Marking grid should be in there.
We've got consent form, client coursework slides, client report tutorial, client report checklist.
Yeah.
What do you want me to go for?
The marking guidelines there,
this
please.
One? Yeah. Excellent. Let's pop that down. Okay. Word document. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, we can see it.
Okay, let's pop this up here. Oh, that's absolutely fine. Here we go.
Right.
Seamless production once again, folks. Where the hell
is it gone?
There we go. Right, it's absolutely minuscule. Let's zoom in a touch.
Yeah. Now, all this stuff at the beginning is about 3 or 4 pages. Is what should be in the report. So I don't think we need to go through that. You should know this by now. I think we can go. Yeah.
Yes.
I think we can go straight through to the. This it tells you what should be in each section. Client profile.
Nice.
Initial assessment.
Keep going.
Yeah. Then it goes to the nutritional changes implemented, then the follow-up assessment.
You guys are laughing me right off with this amount of detail.
Yeah. And then references and appendices and even the hand-in date. So it's all there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Jeez.
So this is the...
this is your rubric?
The marking rubric, which is pretty detailed. As you can see, it's got all of your... grades, I should say, from high distinction, which is 80 plus, down to, I believe, fail.
I like the way that you've organised this, because the first thing you see is high distinction,
Yes.
which is where we should all be aiming for, guys. Like, this is where we're at. We're not down here. So this is what we need to get into our reports.
Yeah, we should try. We should do our best.
Indeed.
But it tells you what the kind of level of detail we're looking for in each category. It doesn't say, if you look at the follow-up, so they've got the client profile, what should be in there.
Yeah, profile of client is 10% of the assessment. Yep. Then we've got
the initial dietary and performance assessment. So for this, as you well know, you need to do assess two things: their initial performance, which is the thing that they want to improve on, whether that's on the 1 rep max or running 5 miles in X amount of minutes or whatever. That needs to be there. The initial performance assessment and the initial dietary assessment, which is based on their initial food record, whether you did a 3-day food diary or whatever you decide to do with them. You ran it through Nutritics and you came up with a summary of their pre-intervention diet, basically. So we've done that. Then
before we move on, this is a 25% section of the assessment, so it's a weighty number, a quarter nonetheless. So what does in your experience of students of past years, what does a good section look like? Now, I know obviously it's going to have the two components, the primary outcome measure and maybe the secondary ones as well for the actual measurable effect, and then you've got the nutrition stuff. But can you go into a little bit more detail about exactly the types of things that you would want to see in those two sections? So maybe the level of detail and how they've actually compared those things.
Well, I think it's pretty much set out within there. If you see on the grayed out bits what should be included.
Okay, well, if we can, let's get into that, because I mean I'm fearful that our heads are in the way a little bit, but I think we should be good to go. But nevertheless, so we've got identifies the key performance indicators.
KPI, important. Some people in past years have not identified a KPI. They've just said what the goals are, but they've not said how they're going to measure them.
Yeah, okay.
So we need that. That's vital. Explains how performance was assessed. Yeah, did you go along with your person and did you actually assess them? Did you measure them? Did you rely on self-reported assessment? How was it measured? You can go into as much detail as is appropriate there. Then your method of dietary assessment, whichever one you used.
Would they go as far? Would they need to justify it?
Yes. Yeah. We'd want a bit of why did you choose that for that particular client? And then you present the results of your nutritional analysis, highlighting the problems with the diet. The problems with the diet will have come from your nutritional analysis. They're not from what you subjectively thought about their diet before you started. Yeah. They are the results of your nutritional analysis, which will tell you where those targets are not being met, where the targets might be overmet, where the balance is wrong. It won't tell you, then you'll be relying on the food record to see in terms of the feeding around the exercise bout. So what they were having pre-exercise and post-exercise, very important. You might just need to tweak something there. Overall, they might be having enough of that macronutrient, but it might be not in the right time frame around the exercise bout. So what I'm looking for in that section is what I'm looking for throughout these reports: clarity. Clarity is the key.
Excellent. Fantastic. That's super helpful, I think. Just whilst we continue on, guys, I keep keeping an eye on the chat. Yeah. So if you do have a question, just stick it in the chat and we'll try and address it as we move forward. Because obviously there's an opportunity for you guys to be as specific as you like about the questions that you ask. I'm just trying to do sensible things to allow those questions to come in. So we'll keep forging on. So nutritional advice, 25%.
Yeah. So this is your plan, the feeding plan, the food plan that you have for your client in order to help them improve on their performance-related skill, whatever it is they want to improve on. Yeah. And we've talked about this as well. How you present your plan to your client is up to you. So you may wish to do quite a prescriptive food plan where you tell them what they may be having for breakfast, lunch, tea, pre and post. Or you may do just exchange lists, or you may just give them ideas of how they can increase their carbohydrate or their protein content. It's up to you how you the format of your plan. That should be done in line with what your client wants. Not everybody wants to be told what they need to eat 3 times a day. they just want a bit of a choice, or they want to know how I can increase, or you want them to know how they could increase their carbohydrate consumption.
Yeah.
So the format of that food plan is up to you, but some of it needs to be within the report. As I said before, last year, for some unknown reason, a lot of people thought they'd put their entire food plan in the appendix where there were no marks.
Bombshell.
Yes.
Yeah. There's tips from the top then. Don't do that.
No. Just put something that is a representative example of the food plan that you've done with your client within that section, because that's where the marks are for it. And then you talk about how you expect those changes to benefit your client's performance, your projections on that, and
how specific could they be? I mean,
I wouldn't expect
depends.
figures, or I would expect them to improve his
Percentage
time
change?
by
Percentage change, or
yeah, you could do a percentage change, but I wouldn't expect it to be very precise, because you do expect some benefit. If you want to give the degree of the benefit, that's fine. Yeah.
would they have to support that potentially?
Yes, we want evidence throughout this. Good point. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Evidence-based. Your nutritional advice, whatever you decide to do with your client, should be evidence-based and referenced, so we know where you've got your ideas from. You might have an idea that is kind of out there, that's not been well tried and well tried before.
Innovative.
Yeah, innovative. But if we can see your rationale why you've chosen it, and you give the some references for it, and we can see why you think it might benefit, then it's okay. But it needs to be evidence-based. It can't just be what you thought would be a good idea to try out at the time.
This is where I talk about this a lot on the stream, that we're differentiating away from our personal opinion, and we're actually supporting a strategic approach with previously published literature, as in we're building on an evidence base towards addressing a given problem. So the last section for this, then we've got the follow-up dietary and performance assessment, 25% of the mark as well. So a little bit about this.
Okay, good. So this is an important section, because obviously this is where you see the outcomes of what you've done with your client. You don't need in any way for that intervention to have been successful, as Stephanie. Was it Stephanie asked?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You need to report what did happen. Not, it doesn't have to have been a roaring success. But what's important in this section is the comparison between pre and post. As I've even put it in capitals, compares them to initial values. The comparison between pre and post is really important, and it needs, again, to be clearly shown, some clarity there around what the difference between pre and post measurements. That's follow-up dietary assessment and follow-up performance assessment. It needs to be really clear on the page, one by the side of the other, where the change happened. That change could have been minuscule, but it still needs to be there on the paper so I can see it. That's where you appreciate the extent of your, I wouldn't say, where you appreciate what your intervention has done, in fact, bearing in mind that any changes you see might not all be due to your nutritional intervention. There could be some training effects there as well. So you need to try and evaluate how much of that is due to training effects, how much is due to your own intervention. It's
funny. It's a funny one that you bring up, that once you change one thing with the person, they have a positive response to that, then it tends to have a knock-on effect, and then those effects compound. And therefore being able to actually identify whether the thing that you've done, or whether the things that they might not have told you about, or that they've increased their intensity, the duration, the frequency, which could be supported by the intervention you've given. If you increase someone's carb feeding, for example, they may feel that they have more energy at any given point, that they've recovered better, and therefore they can increase their intensity, etc., etc. So nice one. Stephanie's coming in with a question here. Do you want us to show WhatsApp messages with clients in the report to show how conversations unfolded or went by? Is that too much detail? Is that
that could be a good thing to put in your appendices, Stephanie. I don't think we need that level of detail within the report, but this is more supportive. This is supportive.
So, can I say?
Yeah, sure.
So maybe, Stephanie, one thing you could do there is that if part of your intervention was guiding your participant, or your client, should I say, via WhatsApp messages, to ensure that maybe they timed their consumption at a given point. So you're just politely reminding them that, tonight you need to eat an example of maybe 3 different things, which is part of the intervention you put in place. Maybe a proportionate way of detailing that is not, you don't want the entire transcript of your WhatsApp messages, but maybe a screen grab, and then, figure 2.1 or appendices 1 is, example of transcript from WhatsApp where intervention was, what took place, something like that. So you kind of ticking the box that you've undertaken that, but you're not overwhelming the marker, because the marker's not going to read every single message you've sent.
That's kind of auxiliary.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Gillian's come in with a question here. Is it recommended to detail rationale of BMR equation and the PAL table and showing workings of equation for your client? So,
Not the workings of the equation are not really necessary. You can give a couple of lines on justification for your BMR equation, because you will know that there are some predictive equations that are more appropriate for some populations than others. So you could add a line or 2 in about that. But basically, BMR times PAL will give you this amount of energy requirements per day. So you don't really need to show the workings now.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Miguel, thank you. I think that was good. Excellent. Miguel's just come in with a point. I do agree with him as well, actually. That I'm thinking that he said at Stephanie, I'm thinking that you would break the confidentiality agreement you have with your client. I do agree, actually. You might be wise if you do a screen grab, if you put it into something like PowerPoint and then put some boxes over the name, so that you're essentially redacting the name, and then you can just save that as a new image. Then you would be able to bypass that a little bit. I think that's a great shout. Thank you for drawing that up, Miguel. Stephanie's sharing her practice with Gillian. Gillian, I referenced PAL's section. Sorry, I didn't mean to send that. Oh, that's all right. She slapped her head. It's all right, Stephanie. So get another coffee in. Get up to speed. You'll be fine. Good. Thank you for the questions, guys. This is what it's all about. You get the opportunity to actually get some of the questions that you guys are thinking about to Jane, who's going to be the one who's going to have the biggest influence. Yeah, there,
and picking up there what Miguel said, very true. We don't have anything identifiable whatsoever in these.
Yeah. So personal details.
Nothing.
Yeah. So no names, addresses,
phone book,
identifiables, anything like that. So
nothing.
Cool. Well, I think the take-home message is be mindful of the rubric, because
be mindful of the rubric. Write with that in mind. Yeah. All of your reports are going to be different. I've never, in all my years of marketing, seen 2 reports that are even similar, because you're working with different clients.
Yeah.
So you're not, even if you think, oh, my report should be like that, your report will stand up on its own merits. As long as you're aiming or trying to aim as high as you can, and not everybody's going to get outstanding distinction, obviously, but if you're doing if you're writing, you'll be writing to your own merits, is what I'm saying. So each report is going to be different. It's no point comparing your report with somebody else's, because yours is completely different to theirs.
I'm just going to step in and say that if everyone meets the high distinction criteria, then everyone will get a high distinction. So just there's sometimes a myth that goes around university students that there's only a certain percentage of marks which are allocated to the top brackets. That's not true.
No,
so,
not at all.
But I think what you're getting at here is that there is typically like almost like a normal distribution of marks that are allocated, because of the people will go above and beyond, meet that high distinction criteria and do an excellent job. Some might just miss a few points, a few details missing here and there. But again, you all have the opportunity to score the highest mark. And if you do, great. Is what I would say. Stephanie's come in with a question here. Can we say he or she?
Yes.
I think that's fine.
Yes, you can say here. Don't get mixed up and say both. But he is definitely right and she is definitely right. They don't call them it.
If you want to be totally woke, then they would be the more appropriate one. But I think if they've identified as he or she, that is absolutely
I don't like they, because this is my own personal thing. I don't like they because it sounds as if you're talking about a group of people.
Yeah, but moving into 2019, nearly 2020, they is okay. It turns out, apparently so. Okay. But I mean, maybe that's a conversation for a different time, not in a recorded on live fly.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll chat about it afterwards, maybe. But
sure. Personally, I like he and she.
I'm getting berated in the chat here, but there we are. Shall we email you, Jane, regarding one-to-one meetings on Tuesday the 17th regarding the client report ?
Okay. Not quite yet, because I need to make sure I can book a room. I'm sure I will be able to book a room because there's going to be nobody about. But let me book the room first, then I'll send out a message, an email, and then we can start booking in for the one-to-ones. I think probably we'll go from about 12 o'clock till about 5 o'clock on the Tuesday afternoon. Make sure everybody who wants to come along is able to.
I hope that's clear. Cool. If the I feel we could maybe, because time's getting on a bit. It's 12 o'clock, and I'm mindful of the fact that you do have other commitments. But I was wondering whether we could just quickly talk about the second assessment on the module, and then we can call it quits there, I think. So.
Yeah, okay. So it's an exam. It's not an in-class test. There is a distinction. Exam is set by the registry. In other words, it's the setting of it, the organisation's taken away from the module leader, and the registry do it all. But I have seen just a couple of days ago that the exam date has now been set for the 17th of January. You need to check that yourselves by going onto the link and having a look. So,
if you keep talking about the assessment, I'll put a link in the chat.
Okay.
So bear with.
So 17th of January, hopefully that will maximise the amount of time you've got to revise. You know the format of the exam because we looked at that on Tuesday. 4 short answers. Each one you're recommended to spend about 10 minutes on, with 5 marks each. 2 essays from a choice of 5.
Oops.
Recommended to spend about 40 minutes each per essay. One thing I was told the other day when I went to sign off the exam papers was that you will not be getting the 10 minutes reading time this year.
Interesting.
We used to always have 10 minutes reading time for exams, so you could have a look at the paper, make some notes, and maybe do some essay plans, and then the exam time would start. That is not going to be offered this year. It's a straight 2 hours. So you need to be quite on point about your timings. Sticking to timing, don't spend too much time on one essay or one short answer and then leave yourself short at the end. So practice timing, timed essays and timed short answers is what I would say.
Be super strict about it as well, you know. Like I say, this exam technique is a thing, you know. You've got to be able to pace yourself throughout, and as such, being mindful of the fact you're going to need a bit of time to make decisions about which questions you're going to go for, because you can be strategic about that. You know that you have strengths in particular areas, and there's maybe some areas that you might want to avoid, but still be mindful of them just in case there is not an option for you to avoid that topic, because that's a problem. But with the short answer questions, they are the ones that tend to catch you out, because there's a tendency or a tendency for you to want to give as much as possible, but just be mindful of the fact that you've just got to keep that ratio to how many marks do I get for this question, and therefore how much time do I give it, because ultimately, say it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is. Do you know what it would be?
It'll be 10 minutes per question. There's 4 questions, so 20 marks, which does equate to 1 essay.
Yep.
So, but if you split your time equally between those 3 tasks, 2 essays and 1 set of short answer questions, and make sure that you stick within what you plan to give yourself, then you're giving yourself the best chance.
Because let's put that into practical terms. Like, if your short answer questions overrun by 10 minutes, you've capped on how many marks you can get in that section.
Yeah.
So if you spend too much time on it, you're essentially doing yourself a disservice on the long answer question, because you're reducing the amount of opportunity, therefore the amount of time to score as well on the essay question. And if they're equally weighted, the 2 sections of the exam.
Well, yeah, it's like 20 marks, 20 marks, 20 marks.
Well, there we are.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you need to be super strict on your timing. So once you've got through, you know, the short answer questions, you need to say, right, I'm going to stop writing on this section.
Yeah.
You might find you write the essay faster than you realised.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can go back to the first section and fill out the extra bits of information, and that's a good strategy to have. That get through as many of the sections as you can within the time you've allocated, and then if you do have extra time at the end, you can revisit those sections and and tie them up, and therefore bump yourself up even further. So
yeah, because as you said at the beginning, Mike, not everybody's done exams for ages.
That's true.
And some people might not be used to exam technique or whatever. In terms of preparing for the exam, it's about practice. practicing timed essays, and the more you practice and test yourself, the more you actually test yourself, the better off you will be.
Excellent. Good stuff. Anything else that you want to? So these guys have got access to some example questions for the exam yet, or?
I gave them a mock paper.
Okay.
Last week, Tuesday. So they've got access to that.
Yep.
I can, because it's the first year it's been an exam and not an in-class test.
Yeah.
There is no prior exam papers because there weren't exams before.
Interesting.
But I can knock up some questions.
I mean, if there's there's a mock paper there, I think you're.
There is
a
a mock paper.
Well,
you're going to be doing that mock paper, some of it.
Well, there you are. So
yeah.
I think your guys are well covered in that regard. So excellent. If there's any questions with regards to the exam, you ask them now, because I think we're gonna wrap the Q&A session up very quickly. So I can't remember when the exam 17th.
17th. So it's the last
potential
day of the exam period.
Excellent, and that'll roll you straight into semester 2, guys.
Yeah.
So I have to say, from a course leader perspective, trying to avoid the assessment clumping that takes place with the multiple modules has been very challenging this year. I think it's because we've had, like you say, it's not an in-class test anymore. It's in the exams period, and therefore we can influence the registry a little bit, but not really as well. They've got a big balancing act to do across the entire school and the college, so it's a tricky one to manage. But I think we've done something as pragmatic as possible given the circumstances.
Well, we're on the very last day of the exam period, so
excellent. Yeah,
can't push it back any further.
While I've got you, and we will definitely call this quits after this. This is the last SEN stream of 2019, nonetheless, and therefore of semester 1.
Wow.
You are going to be leading practitioner skills. Assessment of health and fitness. It's semester 2. Can you give us a brief insight as to what we might be doing?
Yeah, you'll be doing a lot of practical work.
It's not fair, Jane. You get all the good feedback because you get to do all the fun stuff. So
it's great. We're going to be in the labs. We are going to. It's a practical-based module, and the idea is that you get to practice and become proficient, or as proficient as you can, in running exercise and fitness tests for clients. Now, you are probably most likely going into sports nutrition. But obviously, there's another side that one should know about. Your clients want to get fitter and improve in their sports. You would hopefully want to know something about how that fitness is measured and how certain parameters of fitness are measured. So that's what you'll be doing. We'll be in the labs a lot. And your assessment, one of the assessments in that module, is a fitness testing session with a outside athlete who will come along, and you in your groups will put him through or her through a battery of fitness tests. You've got the whole of the 4th floor facilities to do that in, and you will write a report based on that. You will not be assessed on how you on the actual fitness testing session itself, but you will be assessed on how you write it up.
Super pragmatic assessment for that one. It's a busy day in the lab as well, isn't it?
It's busy, it's great, it's good fun.
It is, You don't know who you're going to... You give a profile, don't you?
You get a profile, but you don't meet your client
until the day.
Your athlete.
Yeah. It's a super good module. In terms of modules to get you prepared for the practical aspects of doing a research project as well, it's probably a key one, alongside research methods for the kind of the more academic side of things. Super good module to be a part of and get involved with, really. So I just highlight a comment that came in there from Laura. I always tell people to bring in a watch with them so they can see the time. There's usually a clock in the room, but there's not always easy to see. For me and my terrible eyesight, anyway, I've just said thank you for sharing that, Laura, because that's really good advice.
Very good,
and at least you know where to look, like you say. All your exams rooms will have a clock in them. They are mindful. The university is mindful of the size of those clocks as well. So, but they will be up there. Usually, what happens is they will put up the projector, and it'll have the time projected onto the screen so that everyone is aware. It also makes it very clear if you turn up late for your exam that that it's not ambiguous. You are late. So, Gillian's just asked, why is it an exam this year and not a test? This is a nuance, I think, rather than anything.
Yes, it is. Yeah. To be honest, Gillian, it was an exam in all but name.
Yeah.
Last year and for the years running up to it. It's been put as an exam partly logistically to give you more time to revise for it. In-class tests should technically be within the teaching time.
Yeah.
Which means you would have had to be doing your in-class test now instead of having the whole of the yeah.
It is a straight up practical course organization decision, and it was taken because, like as Jane has said, you get more time to prepare for it. Because if we put it into the exam period, then it extends it beyond the teaching period, and therefore you get more opportunity to be prepared. So instead of being flustered at the end of semester or returning into the new year whilst you've got other hand-ins and things like that, it's not always ideal. So that was why the decision was made. So,
but in terms of what it was when it was in-class test, it was almost the same, except for they had to answer more essay questions.
Julian's asked a good question here as well. When do we find out the results for the exam?
There's a 3 week working days.
15 working days.
15 working days turnaround time for results to come back to you, which includes moderation, so they get checked. And that is what we aim for every time. Yeah.
Same deal. So they'll be released onto, I think you use Grade Center. Grade Center populates your student record system, and you'll see it from there. So, yeah. You have an excellent record of returning within the 15 working days as well. So you're getting it from the best guys, is what I would say.
Yes,
so,
well, I do my best. Don't sleep.
You do your job, Jane, is what I would say.
Well, yeah.
You don't sleep though.
No.
Yeah, well, that's not ideal, is it?
Well, you don't sleep either.
I don't sleep. Yeah, but that's a life choice, a bad life choice. No, I'm kidding. If my child would sleep more, that would be better.
Yeah,
is what I would say. It would be better for everybody.
All right in a few years' time.
I will do though, because every parent that comes to me who's got kids, they always say, "Oh, well, the problems just change." So now apparently they'll just start arguing with each other eventually.
Oh, can't wait for that.
Yeah, and then until eventually they might be like 25 and they might return home together one day and they might say, "Oh, Dad, do you want to go for a pint?" I'll be like, "Oh God,
that's your payoff.
Praise be, yeah, you're paying."
Yeah.
So
of course,
indeed. So anyway, do you need to leave or are you going to hang around?
What time is it?
It is 12:10. We're going to talk about the conference, a little bit about the organisation, the programme, how it's all going to run. So you're welcome to stay around, or we can just take a quick pause.
I think I'll go because I've got some things to catch up for this afternoon, yes.
Guys, big thanks in the chat, if that's possible for Jane. Any questions about one-to-ones, specifics about coursework, you've got your final session next week. So take the opportunity to get that. But thank you very much for all your hard work. The feedback on your module from these guys has been excellent. So thank you for sharing that with them. And thank you, Jane, for doing such a great job and joining us on the stream today.
Thank you for the stream.
Indeed. Yeah, thanks very much. Guys, round of applause and thanks in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Jane. And we'll speak to you soon. Okay. Let me just get this. Guys, I'll be back in about 2 minutes and we'll carry on and talk about the conference coming up from there. Guys, thanks very much for all your questions in the chat and the thanks to given to Jane. Super helpful having her in the studio. And again, I believe you guys enjoy those types of sessions. It just gives you the opportunity to kind of get a little bit more specificity with regards to the assessment and modules and things that you are doing. So, excellent. We're going to change track a little bit. Now, I don't know what the setup is like because I was in a bit of a rush this morning because I got a bit shafted with the trains. So if I have to adjust stuff, then I'll just have to do it on the fly. But I was going to talk about the conference. In order to do that, I would need to I've just seen Philippa's comment here. Small children, small problems. Big children, big problems. Sorry. Yeah. What a nightmare. Never mind. I just need to get an email that was sent from Dr. Richard McKenzie, who is the guy who is organizing the conference. So let me just get that open now on my screen. There's a couple of attachments there, which I'm going to make available to you guys after the stream, because they essentially tell you what the dealio is for the day. So let me just get these open now. And apologies for not having these open at the start, but you know, as I say, we're a little bit on the back foot today. So let's just keep churning it through. Excellent. Let's download that now as well. Excellent. So let's get the program open, and I'm going to share that with you guys now. Excellent. Okay, cool. So just as a reminder, next Friday we have the conference at the University of Roehampton, which is slightly further away than I realized when I first talked about this conference. So we're looking at about a 50-ish, 55-minute-ish journey from a central London location. If you live towards the south or the west of London, it's probably going to take you a little bit less time to get you there. I'm coming from Cambridgeshire, as we all know, so I'm going to have to take an hour, like 50-minute train into London and then jump on another hour's worth of train to get to the conference as well. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of polite negotiating with my partner with regards to this, because I doubt I'm going to be home in time for bathing the children, which is not going to go down well, may I add, but never mind. Who have we got? Well, we already knew some of these speakers and who was coming up, but let's just revisit that now. Let me get it on so you guys can actually see this. So just, again, I know Bradley Elliott's team bus, that would be a fantastic idea. I don't know about the logistics of doing that, but I was going to suggest to you guys that if you wanted to have like a bit of a group effort in terms of getting there, that's probably not such a bad move, because then at least you will all arrive en masse. So the target time to get there is sometime between 9 and 10 o'clock, with the aim of trying to get there in a good, with a good amount of time to spare. I am not going to coordinate anyone to get there, because trying to do that is just a bit of a nightmare. So if you guys want to come in from and arrange yourselves on on your WhatsApp group, on a Facebook group, or whatever else, you guys go ahead. The staff are all going to make their own way there, just because of the different locations that we're all coming from. It's just not going to be possible to organize that sufficiently. So if you're going to go with friends, organize it amongst yourselves, and that's absolutely fine. Staff are going to make their own way there, and they'll likely make their own way back as well. But just be mindful, you need to look up the location. I'll make this program available to you guys in advance. Now, all I'm concerned about, if I'm honest, is that you guys have got no skin in the game. So there is absolutely no financial incentive for you guys to attend. I went to some lengths to make sure that you guys got tickets that were free for this event. And as such, if you guys don't turn up, we're going to look like a bunch of spanners. So please make sure you get there. It's an absolutely fantastic lineup. But I mean, staff had to pay. I managed to get it covered by the department. But for 25 quid, if you were attending, you'd be laughing your head off, because of the speakers that are there. This is usually in line, the quality of the speakers of this particular conference would be in line of a day's worth of maybe 100 or 200 quid typically. So in terms of value, you guys are going for free, except from the travel costs, obviously. And you will learn a lot on this day. There's some excellent speakers and definitely worth getting involved with. So keynote speaker is number one is Dr. Nicholas Bird from the University of Illinois, the kinesiology and community and health. He's going to be talking about a shift to holistic viewpoint to optimize dietary protein and exercise interaction. So a huge name to get on the books here. Excellent experience, particularly from the protein feeding background, and it will be an excellent talk to get involved with. Next up would be Dr. Lewis James from Loughborough University. He's just published, along with a bunch of collaborators, a paper which is exactly on this topic, which is considering the implications on performance of hydration and some of the things that you would need to consider in research. So I think that's what he's going to talk about. What do we really know about the performance impact of being dehydrated during activity? So again, another super pragmatic session to get yourself across to. Next guy up is Dr. Lauren Bannock. He's from the Institute of Performance Nutrition. He's the guy who does Guru Performance. He does the diploma in sports nutrition as well. And he's going to be talking about science to practice, bridging the gap between what we know and what is relevant to effective practice. So what we do in the lab doesn't always immediately transfer over to the population, the client, or the intervention that we might use, simply because there might be practical limitations, or there could be things that just don't work well because of the lack of equipment or the lack of feasibility of having a particular nutrition product at that particular moment in time. For example, if you wanted to use ice slurries as a cooling strategy for the marathon disables, well, guess what? There ain't any freezers in the middle of the Saharan desert. And as such, is that a practical way of undertaking that? Probably not. So whilst the evidence suggests that's the best approach, the practical application of that is next to zero for that particular event. So how could you navigate that? So that's the types of things he's going to go into. The next guy up would be Dr. Naiman Khan, University of Illinois, again, nutritional neuroscience. So exercise and nutritional effects of cognitive health. A little bit out with my knowledge range of that, so I'm just going to leave the title as is. Then we've got a poster session, just to give you a little bit of insight as to what those posters are going to be. We can see here that we've got Julia Gomez Correcha, who is an undergraduate student working with me at the moment. She's got some of the caffeine work that we've got going on. We're just finalizing the poster over the next couple of days and getting it printed. So do come along and have a look at that and see what you think. We've got some more from the University of Roehampton, from Kingston, and from Roehampton as well. Quite clinical in nature, actually, but well worth a look at just to see how other people are communicating their findings. So that will be over lunch. You can wander around all the poster desks and have a little look and see what is going on from there. After the lunch break, we've got Dr. Stephen Bailey from Loughborough University, insights into the condition and mechanism for improved exercise performance following dietary nitrate supplementation. I know there was a few people interested in dietary nitrates for a project, so well worth having a listen to that talk and see what the most current information and data is on that particular topic. Then we've got Dr. Andrew Holwerder from Maastricht University, exercise and protein to promote active aging, something that is particularly of interest to Dr. Bradley Elliott, who is in the chat right now. The interaction between dietary processes and healthy and active aging. Before we then, we have then these short communications, which is these rapid communication presentations, of which we've got I say PhD student, we've got Dr. Fulvia Dracchio. I suspect my pronunciation is absolutely diabolical there. Who's going to be talking to you about the extracellular matrix after phenylalanine metabolism and its relation to insulin sensitivity. We've got Dr. Mark Turner, metabolic and functional aspects of fatty acid overload, in vitro tissue engineered skeletal muscle. So quite a basic science approach there to some mechanistic models, if you like. Then we've got Vlad Sabu, who is effective training intensity and environmental conditions on the hydration status of elite football players from the University of Exeter. Then we've got a University of Westminster MSc program alumni, Victoria Newbold, coming in talking about her project on sodium bicarbonate supplementation on GI discomfort. It was Sandroy was her supervisor for this. She did a really great job on her project, so she's going to be presenting the data out there. And finally, you've got Tom Gurney, who's looking at algae, bridging the gap between clinical nutrition interactions and the efficacy in its ergogenic aid capabilities. I do not envy that talk, because that's going to be a tricky one to negotiate in 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever they get. So there's another interesting lineup. Before we then finish off with Dr. Javier Gonzalez, who is going to not have a title. They've missed that out, but his title is Breakfast Exercise Timing for Energy Balance and Metabolic Health, to eat before or after you move your feet. So a very topical presentation that Javier is going to be giving there. Great speaker, very active on Twitter if you follow him, very good at disseminating his work on this kind of idea of breakfast. And what is breakfast? What is the most effective breakfast to have? And does it have any metabolic consequences? So I will share the program with you guys onto the Blackboard site. There is another attachment I want to share with you, which is clearly not showing up, which is kind of frustrating. Let me just revisit my emails 1 second. because it's the details of how to get there and where you need to be and when. I don't want to put my email on the stream, I'm afraid, so just bear with me 1 second. Excellent. Let's just take a quick look at this. Perfect. So Dr. Richard McKenzie, who is the senior member of staff who is undertaking the organisation of the event, has just said thank you for registering. We'll be taking the conference at this particular lecture theatre. It gives you a campus map and how to get there, a little bit of the details of exactly how to get there. It is a bit of a faff, I'm not going to lie, but just bear that in mind, and when you're reading it and preparing to get yourselves to the conference on that particular day. There's a copy of the program which we're going to put on there, and we'll go from there. So I will make these 2 documents available to you guys on the Blackboard site as we go from there. Hopefully you're all still very keen to get yourselves there and get involved with the conference as we move forward. So yeah, I think we're pretty much there. That's one of the last things I wanted to talk about. The last thing I just want to talk about, actually, and if there's any outstanding chat, conversations, questions, then do let me know. But the last thing I just wanted to mention, if I just have a quick scoot across. So I've received all of the submissions for supervisor requests. So thank you very much for sending those in. Very helpful is what I would say. And then I can start the process of doing the allocations. I'm trying to adjust the camera, but I'm just making a bit of a hash of it, so I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to be making an announcement. I'll be emailing you all individually because there's only 9 of you doing projects this year. I'll be emailing you individually with who your supervisor is. So do keep an eye out for that, either this afternoon or potentially tomorrow, depending on how much I get done. And I don't see any problem with most of the allocations that I've made, and I believe most of you have spoken to your supervisor of interest as well, so do keep an eye out for that. But I'll turn my attention to the chat now. If there's any further questions coming in, then do let me know. Cameras are all over the place today. I apologize for this tardiness, but if there are any chat questions coming in, then do get in touch and let me know. And I can try and address them as they come in. But a long stream today, apologies. We've got a lot to cover. It's always usually the case when we have another member of staff in to talk about the assessments, and hopefully you found that useful as well. But this is going to be the final stream of the year. Next week, I have a training course on the Thursday, and we don't have anything else to talk about other than what your assessments are going to be and how the best to prepare for that. But it seems like you're fairly well covered in the sessions on week 12 in the modules anyway, so no stress on that. I'm going to be learning about how to take consent from people, so any projects that involve the Human Tissue Act or Human Tissue Authority or any tissues of interest, we should be covered on that, so well worth attending in that regard. But it clashes with the stream timetable, I'm afraid. So this will be the last stream of the year. We will commence the live streams back week 0, essentially the week before we come back into semester 2. We'll kick it off as we usually do, look ahead to week 1 of semester 2, what to expect, what the different modules are going to be, and how you can best prepare for what is going to be in store for you in semester 2. Now, I'm not being overwhelmed with questions in the chat. I don't know what the delay is like on the stream today, but I will start wrapping it up and saying it's been a fantastic semester 1, I think. It's been really great to interact with you guys across SEN Stream. You don't get too much contact from me in semester 1. I'll be running advanced performance nutrition next semester where you'll see a lot more of me. So yeah, without SEN Stream, I'd be basically a stranger to you guys. But hopefully you see benefit in the stream and that you see its value and that it kind of helps to bring everything together, brings additional opportunities and such like to your attention, and just makes sure that everybody is on the same page. So I really look forward to meeting you up with you all at the conference. It'll be a nice chance to just kind of relax at the end of semester, get the opportunity to learn some new stuff, meet some new people, hear about some new research, and really get yourself stuck into that kind of sport and exercise nutrition community whilst you're at the conference. Remember, you're representing the university, so put your best self forward. It's a nice opportunity for you to network, find out if there's any future opportunities for you there as well. Talk about your ideas, question people's research, in a kind of constructive way, and it will be a really nice event for everyone to be a part of and get involved with. So with that in mind, I am going to say thank you very much for watching. Hope you found it useful. Any questions, concerns, comments, do get in touch with me. If you enjoyed the video, like it and share it, whatever else you want to do with it. But without that, Merry Christmas. Look forward to meeting you all next week. I'll meeting up with you all next week at the conference. Take it easy until then. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take it easy and have a nice weekend. Cheers.